Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you from the heart today. I want you to hear me clearly because this message could change the way you walk into 2026. I truly believe this. 2026 will be the happiest year of your life if you decide to do some things differently. Not magically, not accidentally, but intentionally. See, happiness doesn't just show up because the calendar changed. A new year doesn't fix an old mindset. You can carry the same pain, the same habits, and the same excuses into a brand new year and still feel empty. So if you want 2026 to be different, you're going to have to be different. The first thing you must do is take responsibility for your life. Everything won't be your fault, but everything will be your responsibility. The moment you stop blaming your parents, your past, your ex, your boss, or your situation is the moment you take your power back. As long as it's somebody else's fault, you can't change it. But when you say, "This is on me," now you're in control, and control brings peace. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear with you, because this is where everything starts. If you want 2026 to truly be the happiest year of your life, you have to take full responsibility for your life. Not part of it. Not the easy parts. All of it. This is one of the hardest things to do because it forces you to look in the mirror instead of looking for someone to blame. Most people stay unhappy not because life is unfair, but because they keep giving their power away to circumstances, people, and excuses. See, the moment you blame someone else, you also give them control. When you say, "If they hadn't done this, I'd be better," you're saying your happiness depends on someone who may never change. That's a dangerous place to live. Responsibility is not about guilt or shame. It's about ownership. It's about saying, "This is my life, and if something is going to change, it's going to change because I decided to do something about it." You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for how you respond to it. Life will knock you down. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. That's not the question. The real question is, what are you going to do next? Are you going to sit there and replay the pain over and over? Or are you going to stand up and say, "This stops with me"? The strongest people in the world are not the ones who never got hurt. They're the ones who refuse to let their hurt define their future. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself. A lot of us say we want change, but we don't want to change our habits. We want better results without better behavior. We want a different life while doing the same things every day. Responsibility forces you to ask yourself hard questions. Why am I still here? Why do I keep making the same choices? Why do I allow certain people to treat me a certain way? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they are powerful. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting to be saved. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You realize that nobody is coming to rescue you, and instead of feeling scared, you feel free. Free because now the outcome is in your hands. You start waking up with purpose instead of excuses. You start moving with intention instead of emotion. This mindset also changes the way you see failure. Failure stops being something that embarrasses you and becomes something that educates you. When you own your mistakes, you can learn from them. When you blame others, you repeat them. Every setback carries a lesson, but only responsible people are willing to listen. They don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Taking responsibility also means understanding that your daily choices matter more than your big dreams. Your future is built in the small moments, what you do when no one is watching, what you think about when you're alone, what you choose to do instead of what feels easy. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you show up every single day. And that consistency creates confidence. Confidence creates peace. Peace creates happiness. When you truly accept responsibility, something powerful happens inside you. You stop feeling like a victim and start feeling like a creator. You realize that even if the road is hard, you are strong enough to walk it. Even if the process is slow, you are disciplined enough to stay in it. That belief alone changes your energy, and when your energy changes, your life starts responding differently. So if you want 2026 to feel lighter, calmer, and more fulfilling, it starts right here. Not with the world changing, not with people apologizing, but with you deciding to stand up and say, "This is my life, and I'm taking responsibility for it." Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that most people don't realize is stealing their happiness every single day, and that is a lack of peace. If you want 2026 to be the happiest year of your life, you are going to have to protect your peace like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Peace is not something you find by accident. It is something you choose on purpose, and it often requires difficult decisions. You cannot be at peace in environments that constantly drain you. Some of you are exhausted not because you're doing too much, but because you're surrounded by the wrong people. Everybody in your life should not have front row seats. Some people belong in the audience, and some people don't belong in the building at all. If every conversation leaves you confused, angry, or doubting yourself, that is not connection, that is contamination. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they owe everyone an explanation. You don't. You don't owe everyone access to your thoughts, your plans, or your healing process. Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom. When you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, your stress level drops immediately. Peace begins the moment you realize that not everyone needs to understand you for you to move forward. Protecting your peace also means being careful about what you allow into your mind. What you listen to, what you watch, and what you constantly think about shapes your emotional state. If you wake up every day consuming negativity, drama, and fear, you cannot expect to feel happy. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you water will grow. If you water fear, anxiety will grow. If you water gratitude and hope, peace will grow. You have to learn how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. Saying no does not make you selfish. It makes you honest. A lot of people are living overwhelmed lives because they keep saying yes to things that are draining them. You are allowed to choose rest. You are allowed to choose distance. You are allowed to choose yourself. Peace comes when your yes means yes and your no means no. Another part of protecting your peace is understanding that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Some battles cost more than they're worth. When you engage in unnecessary conflict, you pay with your peace. When you walk away, you protect your joy. Walking away is not losing. Sometimes it's winning at a higher level. You also have to accept that some relationships will change as you grow. That doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It means you're becoming different. Growth creates distance sometimes, and that's okay. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you. Holding on to people out of guilt will keep you stuck in a version of yourself you've already outgrown. Protecting your peace requires emotional discipline. It means you don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. It means you pause before reacting. It means you choose calm over chaos. When you master your reactions, you master your life. Most people's problems are not caused by what happens to them, but by how they react to what happens. When your peace is protected, your happiness becomes stable. You're no longer controlled by other people's moods or opinions. You stop riding emotional roller coasters. You start responding instead of reacting. And when you move through life with peace, everything feels lighter. Your sleep improves. Your focus improves. Your joy becomes real, not forced. If you want 2026 to feel different, you have to stop letting everything and everyone have access to you. Your peace is your responsibility. Once you learn to protect it, happiness stops being rare and starts becoming your normal state. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that separates people who dream from people who actually change their lives, and that is discipline. Not motivation, not excitement. Discipline. If you are waiting to feel motivated every day, you will stay exactly where you are. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what carries you when your feelings disappear. If you want 2026 to be the happiest year of your life, you must commit to doing what needs to be done, even on the days you don't feel like it. Most people think happiness comes from comfort, but real happiness comes from progress. And progress is built on daily discipline. It's built on waking up when the alarm goes off instead of hitting snooze. It's built on working on your goals when no one is watching. It's built on choosing what is right over what is easy. Those small decisions may not feel exciting in the moment, but they create a life you're proud of. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You're going to mess up. You're going to miss days. You're going to feel tired. But disciplined people don't quit when they fail. They reset and keep moving. They understand that success is not a straight line. It's a commitment to keep going even when progress feels slow. Let me say this clearly: the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. Every time you avoid the work, you're not avoiding pain, you're postponing it. You pay now with effort, or you pay later with disappointment. Disciplined people choose the smaller pain today to avoid the bigger pain tomorrow. That choice, made over and over again, creates freedom. Daily discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your confidence shrinks. A lot of people are unhappy not because life is hard, but because they don't trust themselves anymore. They've told themselves, "I'll start tomorrow," too many times. Discipline restores that trust. It proves to you that you can rely on yourself. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. In fact, that's where most people fail. They try to do too much, too fast, and then quit. Discipline works best when it's simple, one habit at a time, one small improvement each day. Read a few pages, exercise a little, pray or reflect for a few minutes, learn something new. Those small actions compound, and over time, they change everything. Discipline also protects you from your own emotions. Emotions are powerful, but they are not reliable leaders. If you let your feelings decide your actions, your life will be unstable. Discipline gives you structure. It gives you routine, and routine creates peace. When you know what you're supposed to do each day, you stop feeling lost. You stop wasting energy deciding. You just execute. Another thing discipline does is it prepares you for opportunities. Opportunities don't come when you're ready. They come when they come. Discipline makes sure you're prepared when the door opens. A lot of people miss their moment, not because they weren't talented, but because they weren't disciplined enough to be ready. Discipline is also an act of self-love. People think self-love is only about rest and relaxation. But sometimes self-love is doing the hard thing that your future self will thank you for. Sometimes it's saying no to distractions. Sometimes it's staying focused when everyone else is quitting. When you live with discipline, you're choosing your future happiness over your present comfort. When you commit to daily discipline, your life starts to feel more stable. You stop depending on motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. You show up anyway. And when you show up consistently, results eventually follow. That's when happiness becomes deeper, because it's earned. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about gratitude, because this is one of the most misunderstood keys to happiness. Most people think gratitude comes after success, after money, after everything finally works out. But the truth is, gratitude comes first. If you want 2026 to be the happiest year of your life, you have to learn how to be grateful before life gives you everything you want. If you are unhappy now, more things will not fix that. A new job won't fix it. More money won't fix it. A new relationship won't fix it. Those things may bring temporary excitement, but they won't bring lasting happiness. Gratitude is what teaches you how to enjoy your life as it is while you're building the life you want. Without gratitude, every achievement feels empty because you're always chasing the next thing. Gratitude changes your perspective. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. When you focus only on what you don't have, you train your mind to feel lack. When you focus on what you do have, you train your mind to feel abundance. Your situation may not change immediately, but your experience of life changes instantly. And that shift in perspective can be the difference between stress and peace. Being grateful does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It doesn't mean ignoring your problems or settling for less. It means acknowledging that even in difficult seasons, there is still something to appreciate. You may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either. Gratitude reminds you of the progress you've already made, and that builds hope. One of the most powerful things about gratitude is how it affects your emotional state. When you practice gratitude consistently, your mind becomes calmer. Anxiety decreases because you're no longer constantly worried about what you're lacking. You become more present. You start enjoying small moments that you used to overlook. And those small moments add up to a happier life. Gratitude also changes how you interact with other people. When you appreciate what you have, you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is one of the biggest thieves of happiness. There will always be someone with more than you and someone with less than you. Gratitude keeps you grounded in your own journey instead of measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. Another thing gratitude does is it opens your heart. When you're grateful, you become kinder, more patient, and more understanding. You stop taking people for granted. You express appreciation more often, and that creates stronger relationships. Strong relationships are one of the greatest sources of happiness, yet many people damage them by focusing only on what others aren't doing instead of appreciating what they are doing. Gratitude also prepares you to handle success better. If you don't learn gratitude now, success can make you more anxious instead of happier. You'll constantly fear losing what you gained. Gratitude teaches you contentment, and contentment allows you to enjoy your achievements without being controlled by them. Practicing gratitude doesn't require big changes. It starts with simple awareness, paying attention to your breath, appreciating another day of life, being thankful for the lessons you've learned, even the painful ones. Every experience has shaped you into who you are today. Gratitude helps you honor that journey instead of resenting it. When you live with gratitude, happiness stops being something you chase and becomes something you experience. You still work hard. You still have goals, but you're no longer postponing your joy until some future moment. You're allowing yourself to feel peace right now, and that peace carries you forward with strength and clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that tests almost everyone at some point in life, and that is waiting. Waiting on results, waiting on change, waiting on answers. If you want 2026 to be the happiest year of your life, you have to learn how to trust God's timing instead of rushing your destiny. Most frustration in life doesn't come from denial, it comes from delay, and delay is where faith is developed. We live in a world that wants everything instantly. Instant success, instant recognition, instant results. But life doesn't work like that. Some of the greatest blessings take time because you need time to grow into the person who can handle them. If certain things had happened earlier in your life, they might have destroyed you instead of helped you. Timing is protection, even when it feels like punishment. When you rush your destiny, you skip important lessons. And lessons skipped always come back, usually with more pain. Waiting teaches patience, humility, and strength. It teaches you how to rely on something greater than yourself. When you don't understand why things are taking so long, that's when trust becomes real. Faith isn't believing when everything makes sense. Faith is believing when it doesn't. A lot of people think being behind means being forgotten. That's not true. Being behind often means being prepared. Life is not a race, even though social media makes it feel like one. Everyone's timeline is different. Some people bloom early. Some people bloom late. But late bloomers are often the strongest because they develop deep roots while nobody was watching. Trusting God's timing also means releasing control. That's hard for a lot of people because control feels safe. But control is an illusion. You can plan, you can work hard, you can be disciplined. But there are still things you cannot force. When you try to control what's out of your hands, you create anxiety. When you surrender what you can't control, you create peace. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are building seasons. This is where character is formed. This is where habits are refined. This is where you learn who you really are when nobody is applauding you. Most people want the spotlight, but they don't respect the preparation that happens in the dark. Yet that preparation is what sustains you when the spotlight finally comes. Trusting God's timing also requires you to stop comparing your journey to someone else's. Comparison creates pressure that was never meant for you. You don't know what someone else had to sacrifice, endure, or survive to get where they are. You only see the result, not the process. Your process is custom-made for you, and that's why it doesn't look like anyone else's. Another hard truth is that sometimes delays happen because you're being redirected. Not every closed door is a loss. Some doors close to keep you from walking into something that looks good but isn't right for you. When you trust God's timing, you trust that even the disappointments are working in your favor, even when you don't understand how. Learning to wait doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what you can while trusting what you can't. You still show up. You still improve yourself. You still prepare. But you stop stressing over outcomes you can't control. That balance is where peace lies. You work hard, but you rest emotionally. When you truly trust God's timing, your happiness becomes more stable. You stop feeling like you're running out of time. You stop panicking about the future. You become present in the now. And that presence allows you to appreciate your life instead of constantly worrying about what's next. Waiting becomes easier when you realize that what's meant for you will not miss you. It may come slower than you expected, but it will come at the right time. And when it does, you'll understand why it couldn't have happened any sooner. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that will save you years of stress, frustration, and unnecessary pain if you truly understand it. You do not need to prove anything to anyone if you want 2026 to be the happiest year of your life. You must shift your focus from trying to impress people to becoming a better version of yourself. The need for validation is one of the biggest thieves of joy because it places your self-worth